Our image is dry, so we're ready to watercolor. This is the brush that I like to watercolor with. It has a reservoir right in the handle that holds the water. You can use a brush and a cup of water if you like. That will totally work. I tend to be a little bit of a klutz, so if I have something open, like a cup of water open with a brush, I tend to knock into it and make a mess. So I really like this brush because I don't have an open thing of water. I can control how wet or how dry it is. I have been using this particular brush for many years. Okay, first of all, that's too dark, so I'm going to take a little bit off on the paper towel here, and then I'm going to use my water to spread what is there out. Now it's turning a little bit brown. I wanted the sky to be a little bit dark, a little bit, where is it again? I keep losing which one I'm using. A little bit nighttime. So I'm using, with the distress colors, the one that I'm using is called pumice stone. The other thing I like about this particular water brush is if I have too much water on it, I just tap it on my paper towel. If I don't have enough, I just squeeze it and I get more water on it. When you're doing your watercoloring, you don't, so I've got this sky here that I just watercolored. I'm not gonna do the moon right now. I'm gonna wait till the sky has dried before I do the moon, but I have a lot of other spaces that I can work on until then. So I'm gonna do the deer. I have a little thing here that I made while I was painting, so I knew what colors I used where. So I am using gathered twigs for the deer. And with a larger area, I would tend to go a little bit more careful on where I have darks and lights, where the shadows and the highlights would be. These are fairly tiny areas, so there's not really a lot of room to be able to do that with. So for right now, we're just worrying about getting the color on there. Deer done there. I'm going to do that same color. I have gathered twigs, this one here. I'm going to do that same color for the sled. And then I'm going to use fired brick for my house and my Santa. Now these Reinkers that I'm using, fired brick is right here. I have a little palette here that I have them in, and I have them labeled what colors in where, and it just helps me keep track of exactly what color I am using and where I have it in my palette. I have to store this palette horizontal. I can't put it sideways because these inks will never dry on that plastic. So if I were to tilt it up, I would have them running all over the place, and I don't want that. But it's a great way to have one tool that does two different things. So your Reinkers that ink your pad, using them to also watercolor with. All right, that sky is probably dry enough, so I'm gonna get the peeled paint here and I'm gonna paint my tree. And let that dry. The other thing I love about this brush is when I go between colors, I just squeeze a little bit of water, rub it on the paper towel, and I am completely ready for my next color. Let's do some of these tree trunks over here. I'm gonna do that one, and we'll do it in walnut stain, a bit darker. And it doesn't matter, again, if your colors are exactly the same as mine. If they're close, if they're a little bit different. If you wanted the tree to be a different color, absolutely, this is your project. You painted a different color. Squeeze, clean my brush out here. I'm gonna put a little bit of red. I keep flipping between my palettes. Put a little bit of red on those gifts that are sitting on the roof there. And then my last thing to do is the sun, but I don't think that tree is quite dry yet. So what I'm going to do, I have 2 gel pens here. I'm going to put some gold on the little reins that are going up to the deer. And this is just going to add a little bit of different color to it. Put a little gold on the little harnesses that they have on there. So one of these gel pens is a gold and the other one is a clear glitter one. The clear glitter one, I'm going to do their little antlers, make them a little bit sparkly. And it's just going to add a little bit of different texture to an otherwise flat surface. And obviously it doesn't need to be perfect. If you have something else you want to use, you absolutely can use it. I'm also going to put some of the sparkly one as the little bows and little ties on the gifts. Let's do Santa, the fur on his cap and his beard. Let's do that a little bit sparkly. Let's make the Santa sack gold because we can, why not? And then the moon is probably dry enough by now, so I'm going to get the color there, and the color that I'm using is called Scattered Straw. And I want to be careful that I'm not going into the next color. Like, as long as the color beside it is dry, you're good. But if I was to say, like, put my brush over top of those trees, that's going to rehydrate that color and it's going to pull it right into what I'm working on, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to let this completely dry, and then we will trim it up and put it on our card. Now I'm just noticing this again. In order to get rid of, like, if you happen to go over a line, just take a clean brush and wipe it away like that. Lighter colors, you can do that too. If it's a really dark color, you probably can't. You can probably just get a little bit more forgiveness, make it a little bit lighter. All right, now we're gonna let that dry. I'll see you in the next video where we start to assemble our card.